Habits of Unsuccessful People: What to Stop Doing If You Want to Succeed. Read and published by Mr. Books. Success, in all its forms, often feels elusive, just beyond reach, something reserved for the lucky or the innately gifted. But dig beneath the surface of any truly successful individual, and you'll find not just ambition or intelligence, but habits, patterns of thought and behavior that propel them toward their goals, even in the face of adversity. By contrast, those who struggle to reach their aspirations are not doomed by destiny or lack of opportunity, but often by everyday habits that undermine their progress from within. This book, Habits of Unsuccessful People: What to Stop Doing If You Want to Succeed, is a guide for anyone who senses they are falling short, not from lack of effort, but from falling into patterns that stifle growth and snuff out potential. Through years of observation, research, coaching, and personal experience, the chapters that follow illuminate the most common habits that quietly erode dreams, diminish motivation, and derail careers. Have you ever wondered why your to-do list never seems to shrink, no matter how hard you try? Or felt paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake, even when opportunities come calling? Maybe your days pass in a blur of busyness, but you look back with a sense of drift, uncertain of where you're headed. Perhaps, at difficult moments, you cast blame outward or berate yourself with quiet but withering words. Each of these scenarios, so common and so quietly destructive, springs from deeply rooted habits that unsuccessful people often harbor. But the good news is that these habits are not permanent. They are patterns, not prisons. Every habit has a trigger, a reward, and a path forward if you are willing to observe it honestly and choose differently. The aim of this book is not to judge, but to hold a warm, illuminating light to the habits that keep you stuck, and to offer practical, compassionate strategies to break free. Throughout these pages, we'll examine the cost of habits like procrastination, the paralyzing power of fear, the invisible drift of aimlessness, and the insidious voice of negative self-talk. We'll explore how blame and victimhood erode personal power, how poor time management diffuses focus, and how toxic influences often steer us away from our best selves. Finally, we'll discuss the crucial difference between perseverance and quitting at the first obstacle. Stories, exercises, and reflection questions will help you recognize these habits within yourself and, most importantly, develop new habits that support your journey towards success. However you define it, by the end, you won't just know what to stop doing. You'll have the tools to start walking a brighter, more intentional path. Welcome to your journey of breaking the cycle. Let's get started. Chapter 1: Procrastination, the thief of time and success. Procrastination is often dismissed as a harmless quirk, a universal trait that simply means putting things off until later. Yet beneath its surface, procrastination is a formidable enemy, a silent thief that gradually robs us of our most precious resource: time. It creeps into our lives with the promise of comfort, whispers plausible excuses into our ears, and before we know it, has woven itself into the fabric of our daily existence. For those who struggle to find success, chronic procrastination can become the single greatest barrier between aspiration and achievement. The roots of procrastination are many and varied. For some, it is fear of failure or making the wrong choice. For others, it is perfectionism, the overwhelming feeling that nothing will ever be good enough to merit completion. Still others succumb to procrastination for lack of interest or sheer overwhelm in the face of a daunting task. Some may not even recognize they are procrastinating, instead blaming external circumstances for their delays. Let us imagine Anna, an aspiring writer who has always dreamed of publishing her novel. Each day, she spends hours organizing her workspace, researching the perfect writing software, and making elaborate outlines. Yet, the story remains unwritten. Anna isn't lazy. She's entangled in the web of procrastination. Her efforts have the appearance of productivity, but her real goal, the act of writing, remains out of reach. Anna's story is not unique. Many high-potential individuals like her are hijacked by procrastination, not for lack of skill or desire, but because of this debilitating habit. The cost of procrastination extends beyond unfinished projects. It erodes self-esteem as guilt and anxiety mount. Tasks left undone become mental clutter, occupying precious mental space and breeding chronic stress. When deadlines loom or opportunities pass by, the seeds of regret are sown. Worse still, each cycle of procrastination reinforces itself, nurturing the mistaken belief that this is just the way I am. So how can we break free from this pattern? The first step is honest self-awareness. Recognize when and how you procrastinate. Is it the constant checking of social media when faced with a tough assignment? Is it telling yourself, I'll do it tomorrow, day after day? Map your triggers, observe the mental chatter that justifies delay, and reflect on the underlying fears or discomforts you may be avoiding. Next, begin to break tasks into smaller, actionable steps. One of the most effective antidotes to procrastination is momentum. The first step need not be perfect or monumental, it just needs to happen. Set a timer for 20 minutes and commit to working on your task with focused attention. You'll often find that once you've started, resistance melts away, and the work becomes more manageable and even enjoyable. Accountability can also be a powerful motivator. Share your goals with a trusted friend, colleague, or mentor. Set deadlines and hold yourself to them, but allow room for self-compassion. Progress, not perfection, should be your North Star. Finally, cultivate a mindset that values done over perfect, action over inertia. Remember, every step forward is an investment in your future self. The greatest gift you can offer yourself is the decision to begin right now, in this moment. Overcoming procrastination is not about willpower alone. It's about building new habits, one small action at a time. As you turn the page on this chapter and on the habits that hold you back, pause to imagine where you could be in 6 months or a year if you chose to act today rather than tomorrow. The time lost to procrastination is gone forever, but the time ahead is yours to shape. Seize it. Chapter 2. Fear of failure. Avoiding risks and missing opportunities. Fear of failure is an invisible wall standing between countless individuals and their greatest achievements. It takes root quietly but spreads quickly, casting shadows over opportunity and growth. For many, it is far safer to remain where they are, comfortable, familiar, and unchallenged, than to risk the sting of failure. But it is in this very reluctance that the seeds of stagnation are sown. Picture James, a talented engineer who has always dreamed of starting his own technology company. He follows the careers of successful entrepreneurs, attends industry seminars, and brims with innovative ideas. Yet at every critical juncture, when it comes time to submit a business plan, pitch for funding, or simply leap, James hesitates. What if he fails? What if others judge him? What if he invests time and resources only to fall short? James is not alone. Fear of failure is deeply human, a psychological alarm that signals the potential for loss of status, resources, or self-esteem. It is a protective mechanism, rooted in our biology and reinforced by culture, upbringing, and past experiences. However, successful individuals do not lack fear. They simply refuse to let it dictate their choices. Instead of seeing failure as an endpoint, they view it as feedback, a necessary step in the growth process. They know that success is rarely a straight line, but more often a winding path filled with setbacks, lessons, and the occasional disappointment. Unsuccessful people, by contrast, often become paralyzed by the possibility of failure. This paralysis manifests as avoidance, opting out of challenges, declining new responsibilities, or making endless excuses. It also shows up as perfectionism, where nothing is ever ready to launch. The irony is that by refusing to fail, they inadvertently ensure they never succeed. So how can one reframe fear of failure? Begin by acknowledging its presence without judgment. Fear is not a character flaw. It is a natural response to uncertainty. When you feel fear rising, pause and ask, what am I terrified of? Is it the loss of approval? The discomfort of starting over? Or is it the story I tell myself about what failure would mean about me? Next, cultivate a growth mindset. Embrace each setback as an opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. Remind yourself that every successful person has a trail of failures behind them, not as badges of shame, but as evidence of courage and resilience. Seek out stories of people who failed spectacularly before finding their footing. Let these narratives remind you that falling down is part of the process, not a verdict on your potential. Another powerful tool is to reframe risks as experiments. Not every decision needs to be high stakes. Try new things on a small scale, gather feedback, and iterate. Each time you step outside your comfort zone, you expand your capacity for growth. Most importantly, shift your focus from the fear of what could go wrong to the excitement of what could go right. The comfort zone is safe, but it is rarely where dreams are realized. The world is full of opportunities waiting to be seized, if only you summon the courage to reach out. In the end, the greatest risk is not failing, but never trying. Don't let fear of failure lock you into a life of missed opportunities. Embrace the unknown, lean into discomfort, and remember, the only true failure is to give up on yourself. Chapter 3. Lack of clear goals, drifting without direction. Direction is the lifeblood of achievement. Just as a ship without a compass is at the mercy of the tides, a person without clear goals drifts through life, reacting to circumstances instead of shaping them. The lack of well-defined aims is one of the hallmark habits of unsuccessful people. A quiet, persistent force that leads to frustration, wasted potential, and a sense of meaninglessness. Take Emily, a bright professional with diverse interests and ample talents. She is perpetually busy, jumping from one project to another, signing up for countless workshops and offering her help to friends and colleagues. Yet at the end of each month she feels unfulfilled, wondering why all her effort seems to amount to so little. The answer is simple. Emily has never taken the time to clarify her true goals. Her energy, though abundant, is scattered. Why do so many people resist setting clear goals? For some, the idea feels restrictive. They fear that making one choice means closing the door on others. For others, goal setting triggers anxiety. What if I pick the wrong objective? Still others struggle because they have never learned the process of translating dreams into actionable steps. Yet the benefits of goal setting are profound. Clear goals act as a North Star, guiding decisions, prioritizing actions, and sharpening focus. They turn vague desires into concrete plans. They make progress measurable. Without them, one is susceptible to the whims of distraction, the demands of others, and the inertia of routine. Effective goals share several key qualities. They are specific, clearly stating what you wish to achieve, by when, and how you'll know you've succeeded. They are meaningful, rooted in your values and aspirations. And they are realistic, challenging yet achievable, stretching you just far enough outside your comfort zone to promote growth. To escape the aimless drift, begin with reflection. Carve out quiet time to consider what matters most to you. What dreams have you postponed or ignored? What achievements would fill you with pride? Write them down without censorship. Next, translate your big-picture dreams into actionable milestones. If your goal is to change careers, what smaller steps will get you there? Acquiring new skills, updating your resume, reaching out to mentors. Break each goal down into daily or weekly tasks. Regularly review your goals. Life changes and so will your ambitions. Make it a practice to reconnect with your aims and adjust them as needed. Celebrate progress, however small, and use setbacks as opportunities to refine your approach. Remember that without clear goals, your time and talents will be spent fulfilling the visions of others. Take ownership of your trajectory. The journey to success begins with the destination in mind. Make the effort to decide where you're going and watch as your actions, energy, and opportunities align. Chapter 4. blaming others instead of taking responsibility. Few habits are as destructive to personal growth as the tendency to blame others. Shifting responsibility outward may offer temporary relief from discomfort, but it stalls development and traps individuals in a cycle of powerlessness. Successful people own their mistakes and actively seek ways to improve. Unsuccessful people, on the other hand, are skilled at crafting narratives that absolve them of fault. Consider Michael, who consistently misses project deadlines at work. Each time he has a ready explanation. The team was uncooperative, the instructions were unclear, or circumstances were out of his control. While there may be elements of truth in his stories, Michael's default to blame prevents him from examining his own role in outcomes. As a result, he never learns, never adapts, and remains stagnant. Blame is a self-protective instinct. It shields us from guilt, embarrassment, or the uncomfortable reality that we could have done better. Yet by refusing to look inward, we surrender our agency. If others are always at fault, then we are powerless to effect change. This mindset breeds resentment, damages relationships, and most importantly, causes repeated patterns of underachievement. What does taking responsibility look like in practice? First, it requires honesty. When things go wrong, ask yourself, how did my actions, choices, or inattention contribute to this outcome? This is not an exercise in self-flagellation, but a compassionate examination of reality. Second, empower yourself to seek solutions. Instead of focusing on who to blame, shift your attention to what you can do differently next time. This orientation transforms setbacks from dead ends into learning opportunities. Cultivate humility. Admitting fault does not diminish you. It deepens trust and respect. Employers, colleagues, friends, and partners value those who own their mistakes and strive to grow from them. Lastly, recognize the ripple effect of responsibility. By modeling accountability, you encourage others to do the same, creating an environment where constructive feedback and positive change are possible. Blame is a habit, one that can be broken with conscious effort. Practice self-reflection, celebrate moments of ownership, and resist the temptation to deflect. In taking responsibility, you reclaim your power to change your life for the better. The path to success is paved with ownership, not excuses. Chapter 5. Negative self-talk and limiting beliefs. Our inner dialogue shapes our outer reality. The words we speak to ourselves, often unconsciously, influence our confidence, choices, and ultimately, our outcomes. For unsuccessful people, negative self-talk and limiting beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies, undermining ambition and sustaining mediocrity. Meet Lisa, a talented designer who never applies for senior roles because a small, persistent inner voice tells her she isn't ready or good enough. She recalls past rejections, magnifies small mistakes, and downplays her achievements. Soon, these thoughts become entrenched beliefs, guiding her decisions and curbing her progress. Negative self-talk often begins in childhood, seeded by critical authority figures or painful experiences. Over time, these messages crystallize. I'm not smart enough, I always mess up, or success is for others, not for me. These beliefs act as invisible fences, keeping us within the confines of perceived safety, but away from growth. To break free, start by noticing when and how you engage in negative self-talk. Do you expect failure before you try? Do you mentally berate yourself for small errors? Awareness is the first step toward change. Challenge your limiting beliefs. Are they objectively true, or are they inherited assumptions? Gather evidence to the contrary, past successes, compliments, or moments of resilience. Write them down and reread as reminders. Replace negativity with compassion. Speak to yourself as you would a dear friend. Offer encouragement, forgiveness, and patience. The journey to self-belief is not swift, but every kind word plants a seed. Adopt affirmations that reflect your capabilities and potential. I am capable of growth. Mistakes are opportunities to learn. Repetition helps rewire your thinking, gradually shifting your default self-perception. Seek professional or peer support if needed. Sometimes deeply rooted beliefs require the guidance of a coach, therapist, or supportive community. Above all, remember, your outer world is a reflection of your inner narrative. By transforming your self-talk, you clear the path for bigger dreams and greater achievements. The journey from limiting beliefs to liberated potential begins with a single, compassionate thought. Chapter 6. Poor time management and constant distractions. Success requires focus, and focus demands mastery over time. In our hyper-connected world, however, distractions lie everywhere, on our phones, in our inboxes, and even within our own thoughts. Poor time management, coupled with chronic distractibility, is a habit that undermines progress and amplifies stress. For many unsuccessful people, it is the invisible force behind missed deadlines, unfinished projects, and chronic overwhelm. Consider Sarah, an otherwise competent professional who by day's end feels exhausted but bewildered by how little she accomplished. Her hours are splintered by emails, urgent but unimportant requests, and the relentless lure of social media. She starts each week with a plan, but distractions pull her off course. The first step to reclaiming time is awareness. Track your hours for a week. Where does your time truly go? Which activities are productive and which merely drain your attention? Distinguish between urgent and important tasks. Use systems like the Eisenhower matrix to prioritize what truly matters. Schedule focus blocks, undisturbed time for deep work, and protect them fiercely. Minimize distractions. Silence notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and communicate boundaries with colleagues. Design your workspace to cue productivity. Embrace routines and rituals. Start your day with a clear intention and a list of top priorities. Review your progress daily and adjust as necessary. Learn to say no to non-essential commitments. Time is limited. Guard it as your most valuable asset. Delegate, automate, or eliminate tasks that don't move you toward your goals. Practice single tasking. Multitasking fragments attention and reduces effectiveness. Focus wholly on one task at a time, and you'll finish faster and with better results. Lastly, build in time for rest and renewal. Burnout is a signal of mismanaged priorities. When you honor both work and rejuvenation, you create a sustainable rhythm that supports success. Time, once lost, cannot be reclaimed. By mastering it, you multiply your ability to succeed. Intentionality in scheduling is not restrictive, it is liberating, enabling you to channel your energy where it counts most. Chapter 7. Surrounding yourself with toxic influences. The company we keep wields tremendous power over who we become. Friends, colleagues, mentors, and social circles all shape our beliefs, attitudes, and choices. For unsuccessful people, one of the most dangerous habits is surrounding themselves with toxic influences. Those who belittle, discourage, or drain rather than uplift and inspire. Imagine David, a young entrepreneur whose dreams are constantly minimized by his friend group. Whenever he shares a new idea, he's met with cynicism or dismissive laughter. Over time, he grows hesitant, second-guessing his ambitions and settling for less. Toxic influences take many forms. They may be openly critical, habitually negative, or simply indifferent to your growth. Some people subtly undermine others to avoid facing their own limitations. Left unchecked, these dynamics sap motivation and breed self-doubt. Recognize the signs of toxic relationships. Do you leave certain interactions feeling worse about yourself? Do these individuals support your goals or sabotage them? Honest reflection is necessary for discernment. Set boundaries with those who undermine your progress. This doesn't always mean cutting ties, but it does mean limiting exposure and refusing to internalize negativity. Express your needs directly and clearly. If met with hostility, consider reducing contact. Seek out positive, growth-oriented individuals. Look for those whose values align with yours, who challenge you to rise and who celebrate your wins. Join communities, online or offline, where encouragement and ambition are the norm. Become the kind of influence you wish to receive. Uplift others, share resources, and approach interactions with empathy. The more positivity you offer, the more you attract. Remember, your environment shapes your destiny. By curating your circle with care, you foster resilience, creativity, and the courage to pursue your goals. Do not underestimate the power of influence in your journey to success. Chapter 8. Quitting Too Soon. Giving up at the first obstacle. Persistence is often the missing ingredient in the recipe for success. Many dreams wither not from lack of potential, but because their creators quit at the first sign of difficulty. Unsuccessful people often overestimate the ease of achievement and underestimate the resilience required. When setbacks appear, as they inevitably do, they interpret them as signs to stop rather than as stepping stones to growth. Think of Maria, who eagerly embarked on a new fitness regime. At the first plateau, when results slowed, she became disheartened and abandoned her efforts. Her story is repeated in business ventures, creative pursuits, and personal transformations everywhere. Why is perseverance so rare? We live in a culture of instant gratification, where victories are highlighted and struggles are hidden. Many people have not learned to expect, endure, and even embrace obstacles. They see failure as a verdict, rather than as a valuable teacher. To cultivate persistence, shift your focus from outcomes to effort. Celebrate the process of showing up, trying, and learning, regardless of immediate results. Reframe setbacks as feedback, not failure. Build resilience by setting incremental goals. Divide daunting tasks into smaller milestones. Each small win breeds confidence and keeps motivation alive. Lean into your support system. When you feel tempted to quit, seek encouragement from mentors, friends, or supportive communities. Sometimes, an outside perspective is all that's needed to reignite your resolve. Remember, the most significant breakthroughs often occur just beyond the point when most give up. The difference between success and failure, more often than not, is simply staying the course. Persistence is not stubbornness. It is patient, adaptive, and courageous. Embrace obstacles as part of your story, not the end of it. In the act of continuing, even when it is hard, you forge the character and grit that lead to success. The journey will test you, but it will also transform you if you refuse to quit. Chapter 9. Refusing to learn and grow. In the vast landscape of personal development, one habit consistently undermines potential: the refusal to learn and grow. This subtle yet pervasive mindset can be traced to the fear of discomfort, pride, or simply the inertia of routine. The unwillingness to seek new knowledge, challenge oneself, or embrace feedback is one of the clearest predictors of stagnation and ultimately lack of success. Learning is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong commitment to self-betterment. Those who resist learning often do so because of deeply ingrained beliefs. I already know enough, it's too late for me to change. Or, what I know works, so why risk trying something new? This mindset reflects a fixed view of intelligence or ability, the notion that skills are static and unchangeable. Yet, history is replete with examples of individuals who transform their lives simply by opening themselves to new ideas. No matter how accomplished, the most successful people never cease to learn. They read widely, seek mentors, ask questions, and draw lessons from their failures. Their openness becomes a magnet for opportunity. Refusing to grow does not just stall career progress. It limits joy, dampens curiosity, and isolates individuals from the vibrant evolution that marks fulfilling lives. In today's world, where knowledge doubles at an unprecedented rate and industries evolve yearly, remaining static is tantamount to moving backward. Technology, culture, and markets reward adaptability. Those unwilling to invest in learning quickly fall behind. This habit often starts early, perhaps as a defense against the embarrassment of mistakes or as a result of praise for natural talent rather than effort. Over time, the refusal to stretch one's capabilities becomes comfortable, even reassuring. It feels safer to stay within the boundaries of what is known. The effects are insidious. Opportunities are missed because the skills required seem daunting. Challenges are avoided for fear of failure. Constructive criticism is disregarded, interpreted as an attack rather than a gift. Colleagues and peers are viewed with suspicion rather than as sources of wisdom. In social circles, conversations become repetitive and relationships stagnate. Breaking free from this cycle requires courage and humility. It starts with admitting one's limitations and seeing them not as flaws, but as areas ripe for growth. Simple steps: enrolling in a course, reading outside one's comfort zone, soliciting feedback, or observing how others deal with setbacks can reignite the spark of curiosity. Setting aside pride and embracing the mindset of a beginner opens the door to immense possibilities. For those trapped in the habit of refusing to learn and grow, the first step is self-compassion. Change does not happen overnight, nor is ignorance a mark of failure. Each day offers a new chance to ask, what can I learn today? When adopted sincerely, this question transforms lives. The unwillingness to learn is not a permanent trait, it is a temporary condition, one easily cured by intentional effort and a willingness to step into the unknown. In summary, refusing to learn and grow is a habit that constricts both personal and professional avenues. It fosters stagnation where there could be progress, frustration where there could be excitement, and regret where there could be fulfillment. Success in all its forms begins with an open mind and a willingness to change, traits available to anyone willing to let go of pride and embrace the joy of discovery. Chapter 10. Ignoring health and well-being. Among the various habits that undermine success, few are as detrimental as neglecting one's health and well-being. Success loses its luster when we lack the vitality to enjoy it. While many define achievement in terms of wealth, status, or accomplishment, the foundation for all these goals is physical and mental health. It is easy, in the pursuit of external rewards, to underestimate the importance of self-care. The habit of ignoring health can manifest in countless ways: irregular sleep patterns, poor nutrition, chronic stress, lack of exercise, skipping routine medical checkups, or neglecting emotional needs. Over time, these behaviors accumulate, eroding energy, focus, and resilience. Physical health is inseparable from intellectual and emotional capacity. Exhaustion dims creativity, fogs judgment, and amplifies irritability. Minor illnesses become major obstacles, and persistent discomfort gnaws at the motivation required to envision and pursue long-term goals. Success demands stamina, not just of the body, but of the mind. Mental well-being is equally crucial. The modern world is marked by relentless demands, rapid change, and constant connectivity, factors that strain emotional health. Unchecked stress and anxiety blur priorities and instill a perpetual sense of urgency, stifling enjoyment and impairing performance. The habit of ignoring mental health often begins as a coping mechanism, a belief that pushing through is a mark of strength. However, ignoring signals of distress is not endurance. It is denial. Unsuccessful people often justify this habit with rationalizations. I'll take care of myself after I finish this project. It's too expensive to eat healthy, or I don't have time to exercise. Over time, these justifications become entrenched, and self-care is reduced to an afterthought. However, neglect breeds its own consequences: chronic fatigue, burnout, persistent illness, and strained relationships. To break free from this cycle, one must reframe health and well-being as non-negotiable prerequisites for success. This shift in perspective transforms self-care from a luxury to a responsibility. Simple actions: preparing nutritious meals, establishing regular sleep routines, engaging in physical activity, reserving time for reflection or connection serve as daily investments in future potential. Seeking help is not a weakness, but a strength. Whether it is consulting a therapist, joining a wellness group, or speaking with supportive friends, addressing well-being nurtures resilience. Mindful practices such as meditation, journaling, or time in nature calm the nervous system and restore balance. Over time, prioritizing health enables greater productivity, enhances creativity, and brings joy to the pursuit of life's ambitions. Ultimately, ignoring health and well-being is a habit that limits every other form of achievement. By reversing this pattern and caring for yourself holistically, you pave the way for sustainable, authentic success, the kind that enriches your life and empowers you to lift others along your journey. Chapter 11. Wasting money instead of building wealth. Money, while not the sole measure of success, is undeniably a tool for freedom, stability, and opportunity. Yet many people unwittingly undermine their potential through the habit of wasting money rather than building wealth. This destructive tendency arises not just from lack of financial literacy, but also from impulsive behaviors, emotional spending, and an absence of long-term planning. Wasting money takes many forms: frequent splurges, failure to save, accumulating unnecessary debt, poor investment decisions, lack of budgeting, and living beyond one's means. Each of these habits communicates a short-term mindset, a focus on immediate gratification at the expense of future security. The consequences are far-reaching: anxiety, restricted choices, and diminished capacity to respond to emergencies or seize opportunities. Building wealth, conversely, demands discipline and intention. It begins with understanding the mechanics of personal finance: income, expenses, savings, investment, and debt management. Unsuccessful people often avoid engaging with these basics, either because they seem daunting or because they believe wealth is unattainable for them. This avoidance perpetuates a cycle of regret and missed possibilities. Emotional spending, purchasing out of boredom, stress, or a desire to fit in, can be especially insidious. The fleeting delight of acquisition quickly fades, leaving behind a sense of emptiness and the burden of bills. Advertising and social pressure frequently fuel these habits, making it essential to cultivate awareness and self-control. The lack of a financial plan is another common barrier. Without clear goals, money flows in and out without direction. Building wealth requires concrete targets: an emergency fund, retirement savings, investment for growth, or debt reduction. Tracking expenses and analyzing spending patterns provides insight and accountability, making it easier to redirect money toward meaningful ends. To break this cycle, start small. Set aside a fixed amount each week. Automate savings and establish a budget that reflects your values rather than societal expectations. Educate yourself, read books, attend workshops, or seek the counsel of a financial advisor. Embrace the habit of asking yourself, does this purchase bring lasting value? Before spending impulsively, building wealth is about more than accumulation. It is about creating options and peace of mind. It transforms your relationship with money from one of stress to one of empowerment, enabling you to invest in passions, weather setbacks, and share prosperity with others. In sum, the habit of wasting money instead of building wealth is a silent impediment to success. By making intentional financial choices and committing to long-term priorities, you lay the foundation for abundance, not just in your bank account, but in your opportunities, freedom, and sense of possibility. Chapter 12. Complaining instead of problem-solving. Complaining is a universal human trait, an easy outlet for discomfort, frustration, and disappointment. Yet when it becomes a habitual response, it entrenches powerlessness and obstructs progress. The habit of complaining, rather than engaging with challenges, is a hallmark of unsuccessful behavior. At its root, complaining is often a call for validation, a way of seeking empathy or aligning with others who share a grievance. While it can foster temporary camaraderie, chronic complaining shifts focus away from solutions and toward a cycle of negativity. It reframes challenges as insurmountable and positions the complainer as a victim rather than an agent of change. Unsuccessful people fall into the trap of rehearsing what is wrong, seldom venturing toward what can be done to improve. This mindset breeds helplessness, saps energy, and reaffirms limiting beliefs. It can permeate professional environments, families, and social circles, cultivating a culture of cynicism rather than creativity. The habit is often reinforced by comfort. Complaining feels safer than confronting obstacles head-on. There is no risk of failure in identifying problems, only the reassurance that one's struggles are real. However, this comfort comes at a cost. Missed opportunities, strained relationships, and unfulfilled potential. Problem-solving, by contrast, requires initiative, optimism, and persistence. It invites creative thinking, collaboration, and a willingness to experiment. When one encounters a challenge and chooses to explore solutions, failure is transformed from a threat to a learning opportunity. Breaking free from the habit of complaining begins with self-awareness. Notice when and why you complain. Is it in response to stress, fear, or uncertainty? What payoff does complaining provide? By cultivating curiosity about your own habits, you prepare the ground for change. Next, reframe challenges as invitations. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I do about it?" This subtle shift converts victims into problem solvers and sparks innovation. Setting aside time regularly to reflect, brainstorm, and act upon solutions can transform problems into opportunities for growth. Surround yourself with solution-oriented individuals. Their focus, optimism, and resilience will encourage your own. In team or family settings, create a culture of constructive feedback and mutual support. Celebrate creative solutions, however small, and acknowledge effort as much as outcome. Ultimately, complaining is easy, but success demands the harder, more transformative work of problem solving. By consciously shifting attention from grievances to possibilities, you align your habits with momentum, growth, and deeper fulfillment. Chapter 13: Chasing Shortcuts and Quick Fixes. In the pursuit of success, the allure of shortcuts and quick fixes is ever present. Promises of rapid transformation abound. Get-rich-quick schemes, miracle diets, instant skill acquisition, each seducing with the hope of bypassing effort and patience. Yet the habit of seeking shortcuts rarely delivers lasting results. Instead, it undermines the very foundation upon which true success is built. Shortcuts are tempting because they appeal to our natural aversion to discomfort and our yearning for immediate gratification. The prospect of skipping steps or attaining results with minimal investment seems efficient, even ingenious. However, the reality is that most shortcuts are illusions. Quick fixes often mask deeper problems. While bypassing the learning, growth, and resilience that come from honest effort, unsuccessful people frequently fall victim to these habits, investing time and resources in solutions that promise much but deliver little. The cost is twofold: wasted energy and the erosion of self-trust. Quick fixes rarely address root causes. They offer superficial relief, but leave core issues unaddressed. Chasing shortcuts can manifest in many forms: cramming for exams instead of consistent study, relying on fad diets rather than balanced nutrition, making risky financial moves in hopes of high returns, or adopting superficial networking rather than building genuine relationships. Each instance reflects an underlying impatience, a reluctance to engage in the process. True success is gradual and cumulative. It is built upon persistence, attention to detail, and the ability to navigate setbacks. The process of learning, practicing, and refining skills cannot be rushed without sacrificing depth. Those who embrace the journey rather than fixate on the destination develop resilience, confidence, and authenticity. Breaking the habit of chasing shortcuts starts with revising expectations. Accept that meaningful progress takes time. Celebrate incremental achievements and invest in habits that foster growth, regular practice, thoughtful planning, continuous improvement. Resist the urge to compare your path with others. Honor your own timelines and efforts. When faced with challenges, seek sustainable solutions over temporary relief. If you're tempted by a quick fix, ask yourself, will this produce lasting results, or am I avoiding the necessary work? Reframe struggle as an essential ingredient of success. Overcoming obstacles and learning from failure become sources of pride and strength. Ultimately, chasing shortcuts is a habit rooted in impatience and avoidance. By choosing depth over speed, you make the enduring investment necessary for authentic achievement. Success, in its richest form, is not about arriving quickly, but about arriving whole, transformed by the journey, equipped for long-term fulfillment. Chapter 14. Lack of persistence and consistency. Few qualities matter more for success than persistence and consistency. While talent and opportunity lay the groundwork, it is steady effort over time that shapes destinies. The habit of giving up too soon or vacillating in one's commitments is a hallmark of those who never fully realize their potential. Persistence is about continuing forward despite difficulties, failures and setbacks. It is the determination to stay the course when results are slow or obstacles seem insurmountable. Consistency is the practice of showing up day after day with diligence and intent. Together, they form the discipline necessary for progress. Unsuccessful people often struggle with these qualities. They become enthusiastic during the initial stages of a project, only to abandon it at the first sign of difficulty. Their efforts are sporadic, intense bursts of activity followed by periods of inactivity. Ideas are plentiful, but execution falters. This habit is often fueled by impatience, perfectionism, or fear. The discomfort of slow progress leads to discouragement. The temptation to switch strategies or quit becomes overpowering. Without persistence and consistency, even the most promising ventures fail to thrive. The true value of persistence and consistency lies in the compounding effect of regular effort. Small daily actions add up over time, creating momentum and mastery. Skills are refined, relationships deepen, and trust in oneself and with others grows. Progress is not always visible in the short term, but over weeks, months, and years, the results become undeniable. To break free from this pattern, begin by setting clear, achievable goals. Break large tasks into manageable steps. Celebrate small victories and stay attuned to your progress. Develop routines that reinforce your commitments. Regular study, exercise, creative practice, or personal reflection. When setbacks occur, resist the urge to abandon your efforts. Reframe failures as feedback, not as indictment. Persistence is cultivated through resilience. Consistency is nurtured through simplicity and routine. Surround yourself with people who model these habits, and seek inspiration from stories of those who overcame repeated setbacks through steadfast effort. Ultimately, the lack of persistence and consistency undermines dreams and erodes confidence. By cultivating these characteristics, you build the endurance required for achievement and the strength needed to weather adversity. Success is not the result of occasional brilliance, but of sustained, intentional effort, available to all willing to persevere. Chapter 15. Living without discipline or structure. Discipline and structure are the silent architects of achievement. They transform intention into action and aspiration into reality. The habit of living without these guiding forces often results in chaos, distraction, and unmet potential. Discipline is the ability to align actions with goals, to make choices that support long-term achievement over short-term pleasure. Structure provides the frameworks, routines, schedules, systems to ensure that these choices are consistently practiced. Together, they create an environment in which success can flourish. Unsuccessful people frequently eschew discipline and structure. mistaking freedom for lack of planning or spontaneity for lack of accountability. Their days are unorganized, tasks are approached haphazardly, time slips away in trivial pursuits, and priorities are unclear. This lack of discipline often results from an aversion to restriction or a misunderstanding of what structure offers. Discipline is not punishment, it is empowerment. Structure does not stifle creativity. It provides the scaffolding upon which creativity thrives. Living without discipline breeds distraction. Goals are diluted by competing demands, and motivation wanes under the weight of unfinished tasks. Opportunities are missed because there is no mechanism for tracking or pursuing them. Stress rises as deadlines are missed and obligations pile up. The path to overcoming this habit begins with small acts of self-control. Establish morning and evening routines that ground your day. Set aside designated time for key activities: work, study, exercise, relationships, rest. Use tools like calendars, planners, and reminders to reinforce habits and manage distractions. Be patient with yourself. Discipline develops through practice, not perfection. Forgive lapses and recommit daily. View structure as a gift rather than a constraint, a means of freeing energy for creativity, spontaneity, and joy. Seek guidance from mentors, role models, or accountability partners. Learning how others organize their lives and borrowing strategies that suit your personality strengthens your resolve. Over time, discipline becomes automatic, and structure supports your ambitions. Ultimately, living without discipline or structure is a habit that undermines even the brightest talents. By embracing these principles, you harness the power of intention, create stability, and empower yourself to realize your dreams. Success is the result of orderly effort, one mindful day after another. Chapter 16, Resisting Change and Innovation. Growth, achievement, and fulfillment are intrinsically linked to change and innovation. The habit of resisting new ideas, practices, or technologies is a powerful inhibitor of success. Unsuccessful people often inhabit comfort zones, clinging to familiar routines, avoiding the uncertainty that comes with experimentation and adaptation. Resistance to change arises from fear of the unknown, of failure, of losing what has been built. Yet in a world characterized by rapid evolution, clinging to the past is an invitation to obsolescence. Industries, relationships, and communities thrive on innovation. Stagnation breeds irrelevance. Innovation is not reserved for the brilliant or the bold. It is a practical mindset, the willingness to try new approaches, learn from mistakes, and apply creative thinking to persistent problems. Those who welcome change remain flexible, responding swiftly to emerging opportunities and challenges. Unsuccessful people often rationalize resistance with statements like, "This is how it's always been done," or "If it's not broken, don't fix it." Such attitudes protect short-term comfort but undermine long-term growth. They miss out on advances that could improve efficiency, deepen understanding, and create new avenues for achievement. Overcoming resistance demands curiosity and courage. Begin by seeking out unfamiliar experiences. Read about developments in your field, converse with innovators, or experiment with new habits. Welcome discomfort as evidence of growth, not as a threat. Innovation flourishes in environments where mistakes are viewed as learning opportunities. Encourage yourself and those around you to ask, how could this be improved? Celebrate efforts to adapt and experiment, regardless of immediate results. Change is inevitable. Its impact is determined by how we respond. By releasing the habit of resistance and welcoming innovation, you create space for renewal and progress. The most lasting forms of success belong to those willing to reimagine, reinvent, and invest in their own evolution. In sum, resisting change and innovation is a habit rooted in fear and inertia. Letting go opens pathways to achievement, fulfillment, and joy. Make adaptability a cornerstone of your life, and success will follow, enlivened by the freshness of possibility. Chapter 17. Overthinking instead of taking action. Overthinking is a silent saboteur of dreams. It starts innocently, with the desire to make the right decision, to avoid mistakes, or to anticipate every possible outcome. But left unchecked, overthinking morphs into paralysis, a mental fog that stalls progress and erodes self-confidence. Many unsuccessful people are caught in this trap. When faced with an opportunity, they ruminate endlessly, weighing hypothetical risks against imagined rewards. Instead of moving forward, they remain stationary, consumed by what-ifs and self-doubt. On the surface, this might look like careful planning. In reality, it's an insidious cycle that prevents any meaningful action. The habit of overthinking has many origins. It could be a fear of criticism, a learned response from past failures, or a perfectionist streak that refuses to compromise. Regardless of the source, the outcome is often the same: inaction and regret. Time slips away, decisions are postponed, and the window to act quietly closes. Successful people, on the other hand, understand that action breeds clarity. They recognize that mistakes are inevitable, but rarely fatal. By taking a step, however imperfect, they gain valuable feedback and momentum. Overthinkers, conversely, stay on the sidelines, waiting for certainty that never comes. They lose out on experience, miss timing advantages, and learn less because they're not in the arena. To break free from overthinking, it's essential to cultivate habits of decision-making and incremental action. Set deadlines for choices, commit to small steps and reflect, but don't ruminate. Accept that no decision is perfect and errors are opportunities for growth. One powerful strategy is reframing. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What might I learn?" Another is leaning on routines like daily prioritization or time blocking to force yourself into action. Seek out role models who value progress over perfection and observe how they welcome uncertainty as part of the journey. It's also helpful to cultivate self-compassion. Remind yourself that everyone makes missteps, and being stuck is a common human experience. Celebrate attempts, not just achievements. By regulating your expectations and giving yourself permission to act boldly, you disrupt the cycle of paralysis and start building momentum. Finally, evaluate your environment. Surround yourself with people who encourage risk-taking and experimentation. The energy around you often amplifies your tendencies, so choose companions who propel you forward. In sum, overthinking is not a sign of intelligence or caution, it's a barrier. By choosing movement over rumination, you reclaim agency and put your aspirations within reach. With each courageous step, you shape a life defined by possibility, not hesitation. Chapter 18. Failing to network and build relationships. One of the most overlooked contributors to lifelong stagnation is the tendency to neglect networking and meaningful relationships. Success in nearly every field is not only about talent or effort, it's about connection. Unsuccessful people often pride themselves on their independence, believing they can and should do everything alone. Maybe past betrayals or disappointments have left them distrustful. Sometimes introversion or fear of rejection keeps them isolated. Other times, they simply misunderstand the value of collaborative effort, assuming that solitary work is a virtue. Yet every successful journey is punctuated by people, mentors who guide, peers who encourage, and networks that open doors. When you fail to build and nurture these relationships, you miss out on insights, support, resources, and opportunities that no amount of solitary effort can replace. Networking isn't about transactional interactions or shallow exchanges of business cards. It's about genuine connection, an investment in mutual growth, understanding, and support. The strongest networks are built on shared interests, trust, and shared vulnerability. Those who avoid this crucial habit often find themselves languishing, unable to access information or opportunities that circulate effortlessly among the well-connected. Building meaningful relationships starts with authenticity. Be genuinely interested in others, not just in what they can offer you. Listen intently, offer help where you can, and show appreciation for diverse perspectives. Over time, such interactions foster trust, a currency richer than any financial asset. It's also important to overcome the discomfort of networking. Approach it as a skill, not a personality trait. Start small. Attend events, join interest groups, and reconnect with acquaintances. Shift your focus from self-promotion to genuine curiosity about others. Another key is reciprocity. Offer your expertise and insights, celebrate others' successes, and show up in times of need. By consistently giving, not just taking, you create a cycle of positive reinforcement. This builds a reputation of reliability and generosity. Unsuccessful people often fail here because they underestimate the indirect effects of networking. They see no immediate payoff, so they withdraw. In reality, relationships are an investment whose dividends accumulate quietly but powerfully over time. If you're looking to change this habit, set intentional goals, reach out to a new contact each week, or schedule regular check-ins with your peers. Attend industry events, not just to learn, but to connect. Leverage digital platforms to widen your circle while nurturing deeper ties offline. Another barrier is fear. Fear of awkwardness, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood. The antidote is preparation and empathy. Remember that most people appreciate sincerity and vulnerability. They too are looking for connection. In closing, neglecting networking is not a minor oversight, but a fundamental misstep. Society and success thrive on cooperation. The web of human relationships is a living system, and you must participate actively to prosper. The more you invest in others, the richer your opportunities, your wisdom, and your sense of belonging. Chapter 19, Settling for Mediocrity Instead of Striving for Excellence. Perhaps the most subtle habit among unsuccessful people is settling for mediocrity. It is rarely a conscious choice. Sometimes it's exhaustion from repeated setbacks, a resigned belief that excellence is for others, or the mistaken conviction that doing just enough is enough. Yet mediocrity is a silent thief. It snatches away your aspirations, dulls your capacity, and leaves behind a life of bland achievements. It speaks in small choices, a half-hearted effort, a missed deadline, or a project completed just to get it done. These small concessions, multiplied over time, write the story of stagnation. Successful people crave excellence not as perfection, but as personal fulfillment. They find joy in growth and challenge, understanding that the pursuit itself expands their skills, horizons, and confidence. Excellence is less about winning and more about stretching, trying harder, and refusing to settle. Settling breeds complacency. When you consistently accept good enough, you unconsciously lower your standards and shrink your possibilities. Your work blends in, your impact fades, and others stop turning to you for leadership or inspiration. To escape mediocrity, foster a mindset of intentional improvement. Set clear standards for yourself and hold yourself accountable. Seek feedback, not flattery, and treat criticism as a ticket to progress. Celebrate effort, not just achievement, and relish the process of learning. Start by auditing your life for signs of mediocrity. Are there areas where you're coasting, at work, in relationships, or in personal development? Identify them honestly, without judgment. Pinpoint the beliefs or fears that keep you from striving for more. Redefine challenges as invitations, not obstacles. Set higher goals, stretch your abilities, and dare to fail. Surround yourself with people who encourage ambition and limit time with those who normalize mediocrity. Excellence is infectious in the right crowd. Another antidote is curiosity. Stay hungry for new ideas, skills, and experiences. Regularly ask yourself, is this my best? What could I do differently next time? Embrace lifelong learning and resist the comfort of routines. Sometimes the drive for excellence is stifled by fear of burnout, fear of criticism, or fear of standing out. A warm perspective is to accept that growth is inherently uncomfortable but deeply rewarding. Take breaks for rest, but don't retire your ambition. Ease into challenges and build resilience to setbacks. Ultimately, settling is easy but empty. Each day offers a choice. Will you opt for the familiar safety of mediocrity or the transformative journey of excellence? Strive, stretch, learn, and grow. Excellence, far from unattainable, is the natural consequence of intentional, consistent effort. Chapter 20. Playing the victim instead of becoming the victor. Among all the habits highlighted here, playing the victim is the most deceptive. It's rooted in real pain, valid disappointments, and the many injustices life may offer. But when you embrace victimhood as your identity, you trap yourself in a narrative of powerlessness. Unsuccessful people often explain their circumstances in terms of what's been done to them. They focus on their limitations, the unfairness of external events, or the actions of others. This mindset provides temporary comfort, a reason for defeat, a rally of sympathy, but it ultimately disempowers. Success demands that you shift from a passive recipient of life to its active shaper. Victors do not deny their hardships or the validity of their feelings. Instead, they channel their experiences into growth, resilience, and transformation. The habit of victimhood shows up in your language. Notice phrases like, "I can't because," or "if only they had." These are signals that you've relinquished your agency. It can be comforting, but it guarantees stagnation. Victors, by contrast, examine their circumstances. They ask, "What can I control? And how can I respond differently?" This mindset doesn't solve every problem, but it mobilizes you toward creative solutions and bold choices. To shift from victim to victor, begin by accepting responsibility. Not blame, but ownership. Your decisions, attitudes, and actions are within your domain, regardless of what others do. Practice reframing setbacks. Instead of, "Why did this happen to me?" I'd ask, "What is this teaching me?" Another strategy is to seek support, not validation. It's natural to share your struggles, but avoid communities that dwell in mutual helplessness. Surround yourself with people who encourage action, resilience, and hope. Victimhood often stems from unprocessed pain. Healing requires time, compassion, and sometimes professional help. But healing is the catalyst for agency. When you process your wounds, you open yourself to new possibilities. Cultivate gratitude for small wins and personal progress. Victors celebrate movement, however incremental, and honor their efforts over outcomes. Maintain a journal, note your advances, and return often to review your growth. Recognize that setbacks are universal. The difference lies in response. Will you retreat or rise? Embrace mistakes as lessons and persist through adversity. Each trial becomes a stepping stone. Finally, inspect your beliefs. Do you see yourself as capable, adaptable, and strong? If not, nurture these beliefs through affirmations, visualization, and action. The more you act as a victor, the more you become one. In summary, playing the victim offers temporary relief, but permanent limitation. By opting for agency, growth, and hope, you transform your story and your future. Choose victory, one step at a time. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or entertaining, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on future content. Your support means the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.